For the longest of time, I was unable to comprehend exactly what was going on in front of me. Crowds of people gathered around one singular train, an older model, in fact, but the vibes these people gave off were completely different than the others. They were walking around so nonchalantly, as if flying letters and owls were a common occurrence. Some children ran past me with their carts, laughing and playing. Other teens my age walked right by, grinning and joking around as if they were ready to board onto the train. I walked around as lost as a sailor without a map, trying to comprehend everything that had just happened and was happening around me. I guess at some point someone noticed my confused look. "Love, are you lost?" a voice asked. I turned my head to face an older gentleman. His face brightened up the moment our eyes locked. Scottish accent, old lad, blue eyes, ginger hair. I glanced up, raising my eyebrow and tilting my head. "Hey, I know you! You're one of Minerva's girls, aren't you?" I raised an eyebrow and tilted my head. "Who?" "Oh, must have you confused then, girl," the older man joked. "You just look, oh, so similar to her. Even got the same old soul eyes. Go ahead now, girl. Board the train before it leaves to Hogwarts without you." Board the train, of course. Getting away from my family was my number one priority, especially now that they had probably realized I wasn't home and were coming after me. I needed to get away in the meantime, at least far enough to continue my life normally. I walked up the stairs to the Hogwarts Express, feeling the wooden steps creak under my feet. The scent of polished wood and a hint of magic filled the air. Inside, the compartments were already bustling with students, their chatter a comforting hum. I found an empty compartment near the back of the train and settled in, trying my best not to raise any suspicion or attract any looks. As the train's whistle blew and it began to move, I gazed out the window. The platform started to blur, and the realization hit me. I was finally leaving everything behind. My life up until this point had been anything but ordinary. Raised in a strict household where any type of disobedience meant hours of pain and whimpering. And now I was leaving everything, with no money, no ticket, no way back. I spent a few hours alone, my body pressed against the glass, and I went in and out of consciousness. I could barely keep my eyes open, so I decided to sleep in a bit. When I opened my eyes again after dozing off, I was met face to face with a girl of curly black hair and piercing green eyes that could read deep into my soul. At first glance, she seemed extremely friendly, and her tone and mannerisms only led me to further believe she was. "Sorry for scaring you. All of the cars were completely full. I thought I'd ask once you woke up," she explained, her voice as sweet as pie. "Oh, yeah, it's fine." The stranger sat herself down and spread herself completely against the seat. She seemed awfully relaxed, not a care in the world in her small mind. I wish I was like that. "I believe we've never met. I'm Vivien, and you are?" "Oh, Alanza Campbell." "Well, Alanza, you seem quite disturbed during your nap." The girl raised her eyebrows at me, maintaining that seemingly worried look on her face. "Need someone to talk to?" "Oh, well, I wanted to explain, but I had a feeling that telling a complete stranger my problems was not a good idea. Just really excited to go to Hogwarts." Vivien raised an eyebrow at my clearly mispronounced version of Hogwarts, but she seemed to ignore this. "Really? I mean, I'm all for learning, but I'm not in the mood to deal with Headmistress McGonagall's stupid rules. Seems like she has a thing against us Slytherin folk," she explained, slumping against the train's window. "Now that I mention it, I've never seen you around the school, love." It was in that moment I realised Hogwarts was not a town, but an actual school. I knew I had to try my best to fake being a student if I didn't want to be kicked out of the train. I looked down, trying to avoid more questions. "I'm just excited to go back. What year are you?" "What? I mean, what year are you in? I'm starting my 5th year." "Oh, I am..." The train suddenly stopped, announcing that we had just arrived to our destination. I was glad that this sudden event happened, just so I could get away with not revealing my year, as Vivien mentioned. "Oh, good, we're here." It was pitch black out in the station when we got out, but I remembered clearly being daytime when we left. I looked around for the supposed school they were all talking about, but only found an incredibly large man guiding everyone. "Everyone towards the boats! Come on now!" he yelled. Vivien followed this stranger onto the supposed boats we all had to take to reach Hogwarts, holding a lantern high into the sky to light our way there. I had never been on a boat before, much less learnt how to swim, so I had to mentally prepare myself. "What's wrong?" Vivien asked. "Nothing," I said, hesitating to get on. "Come on, they're leaving without us." I somehow gathered the courage to get on the boat, and Vivien managed to push it onto the lake. I had to hold on to the side of the boat, out of fear of falling and drowning. I couldn't believe my eyes at first. Hogwarts was as beautiful as I imagined, and stood as wonderful as the others described it. You could tell it was old. It looked like any other castle you'd find in England, but a lot more beautiful. The lights on the inside were calling my name, inviting me to see its beautiful interior. My grasp on the boat only fastened. "You scared, Campbell? Looks like you're afraid of falling, love." "Yes, I'm fine," I grunted. "What the hell was I doing?" My initial plan was to run away to Cambridge to attend Cambridge University. Now I was heading towards another completely different school, only accessible by boat, and I barely had any idea why. The moment the boat touched land, I jumped off, eager to leave behind the lake. I managed to blend into the crowd of students, even though I stuck out like a sore thumb without my robe. Vivien disappeared into the crowd as well, so I was left to my own devices. I followed the crowd of older students since I could pass as one. They were led into the school. Then they divided themselves into 4 different groups. Vivien and I shared a last glance at each other as she went with the people dressed in green scarves. I was alone. No one else to talk to, lost and confused. Hogwarts was huge on the inside, with different stairs that kept on changing, books that kept flying around me, ghostly figures taunting me as I tried to find someone, anyone, to help me. It wasn't until I found myself in front of a huge wooden door that was slightly cracked open that I stopped and peeked in. There I could see smaller children, no older than 12, waiting in line. There stood a man holding high up into the air what seemed to be a vintage wrinkly hat before putting it on a student's head. "Slytherin!" the hat yelled. I kept on watching how the hat kept calling out different names, followed by the cheers of their groups. I didn't quite understand what they were doing exactly, but I kept listening to their ceremony. "Oh, you're a brave one, aren't you? Gryffindor!" More cheers followed. I glanced over at the table behind them, looking at all the older men and women sitting in their chairs. A platinum blonde man, a very old woman wearing a stereotypical witch hat, 2 older twin men. I didn't even realize I had poked my head in too much. "You!" I didn't have time to shriek. I was immediately pulled aside by a bony hand that dug its nails into my skin. I winced, yet tried to bite my tongue to avoid drawing any further attention. As I turned around to look at who had caught me, I was taken aback by how unattractive this man was. He had a thin, sallow face with a perpetual scowl. His eyes are small and dark, wearing shabby, old-fashioned clothing. He had a general unkempt appearance, a cat hung by his shoulder. I was stuck in a room, looking around at my surroundings. Various paintings hung on the walls. The only difference is that the people in these paintings were moving around, giving me advice that I tried my best to ignore. The man who had caught me was behind a door speaking to an unknown woman on the other end. I tried to listen to their conversation. "I found this one during the sorting hat ceremony, spying on others," he said, his voice hoarse. "I don't think she's a student. She ain't got a robe on and won't tell me what house she's from. She says her name is Alanza Campbell." There was a short silence after hearing the man say my last name. I could tell the woman on the other end was processing the information. "Let me see this girl you speak of." The door suddenly opened, revealing them both. The women who had been speaking before that took a step in. I realised she was the same old woman with the witch hat, the one during the hat ceremony. "Good evening." I tilted my head up. "Good evening, ma'am. I've been told you have snuck into Hogwarts, that you're not even a student." She began to speak. "Yes, ma'am," I admitted. "Would you tell me what on earth your intentions were?" she demanded to know. "I'm not sure, ma'am. I just needed to get away, and I thought Hogwarts was the correct place," I muttered. "May you tell me your surname?" "Campbell." "Oh, please, your real surname." "What?" "I recognise a McGonagall the moment I see one." "Why, you look exactly like me almost 100 years ago," she announced. "Blonde hair. My dear, you must be Alanza." "No, you must be mistaken, Mum. My name is Alanza, but my surname is Campbell, not McGonagall." "You're the mistaken one, dear. Campbell was the Muggle surname given to my great-nephew after he married that Muggle woman almost 50 years ago." "Muggle?" "Your father was my brother's great-grandson, my great-grand-nephew to be precise. You have been born into a great line of wizards, except your father, I see. He's the most Muggle person I know," she explained. "If Muggle means mean-spirited, then yes, I suppose that's correct," I answered as memories of his cruel punishments and insults replayed in my mind. I tried to move a few strings to grant him entry, but Dumbledore insisted it wasn't worth it. It was for the best he didn't attend. He got so angry when he found out he wouldn't become a wizard that he was not granted access to the wizard realm. He threw tantrums left and right, and I guess your grandfather never put him in his place or explained that the rejection was based on his horrible attitude. "A long line of wizards?" I begged for clarification. "Why wasn't I ever contacted? Do you know how much I would have loved getting away from that awful place?" I demanded to know, my voice slightly cracking when I remembered how much I suffered. "Well, dear, when you turned 11, it wasn't exactly the best time for anyone to join Hogwarts. Albus Dumbledore had just died, and we were forced to fight in a war. It doesn't help the fact that your father never wanted you to come. He wanted you to be proud of your Muggle roots," she explained, looking me up and down. "I guess your calling came a bit later." "No, Mum, you don't understand. I was running away to Cambridge University. I came here by chance." "No one hops into the Hogwarts Express by chance, my dear. You're here for a reason. Call it fate or destiny, whatever you want, but never chance. This is nice and all, but I think I must go back to my world. I don't think I would ever belong in a place like this." "Well, if you say so, go ahead, go back. You're certainly free to do so. After all, it's practically impossible as a 17, almost 18-year-old to join Hogwarts so late," she explained. A choice. That was a first in a long time. I had never been given a choice. Every decision I had ever had to make was already done for me. I could either live in a world full of magic and wonder, yet completely new for me, or I could go back to my normal life. The answer was obvious, yet extremely scary. I guess now that I'm here and I have someone to help me, living in Hogwarts won't be as bad, I said. "Wonderful," You know, as headmistress, I can and will pull some strings to make you a student at Hogwarts. But beware, we have never had a new student older than a 5th year. The oldest student to join Hogwarts was a 15th-year-old in the 1880s. Your extremely late admission will prove to be a bit controversial. I don't want to be an inconvenience then, ma'am. Not an inconvenience, just something unexpected. Give me some time to plan things out, Alanza. I'm sure you'll find this to be a pleasant experience.